Welcome to In My Feelings, a safe space to talk all things NBA. I'm your host, Big Waz. Let's go. All right, guys. I just really want to get into my feelings really quickly about a topic that is really near and dear to my heart, that pulls me in so many directions, and that is LeBron James and I wouldn't call it a war against the media, but his little media battle that he's been having for going on a little bit over a month now. And I want to put all my cards on the table here with you guys, In My Feelings listeners. One, I've been a LeBron James fan, fanatic, stan, close watcher, water carrier, defender since 2002, okay? I'm talking about I was in high school when I first became aware of LeBron James and became a mega fan of LeBron James. So that will always color my analysis of LeBron James, just like this history I have with watching his career, basically from the minute ESPN put this guy on my TV. And two, as my current standing as a card-carrying member of the NBA media, right? And so my two selves are doing battle right now. LeBron sexual versus Waz, the media professional. And so, LeBron goes on the Pat McAfee Show and he basically decides that he's going to create a media moment. Like, again, as being a bit of a LeBron expert at this point, like, you can kind of get the sense when LeBron knows when he wants to make some kind of news, whether he tweets it, whether he says it sitting at his locker in a post-game scrum, whether he goes on The Shop, whether he goes on something like the Pat McAfee Show. Like, he knows when he's going to say something that is going to make news. And I couldn't get the sense, but like from watching this, that LeBron clearly wanted to make some statements here. Now, what was LeBron kind of talking about here? He got into a lot of things, I would say, throughout the course of this interview, which I would encourage everybody to go watch. It's like an hour and change. It's LeBron being his version of candid. He drops a couple of F-bombs and says shit a couple of times. Like, it's LeBron being looser than he generally is in a post-game scrum or at the podium, whatever, etc. He got into the Stephen A. Smith thing, which is a theme. The Stephen A. thing, I think, encapsulates a bunch of the stuff LeBron wanted to get on his chest, but he was being specific about that. And we can start with the Stephen A. stuff. Obviously, y'all saw that video go viral of LeBron confronting Stephen A. at a Laker game. LeBron said it's because Stephen A. questioned his ability as a father or something like that, and that it was personal, and that's why he came at him. Stephen A. had his portion, and LeBron went after him. And, he goes on McAfee, and he's basically like, look, like, people are allowed to cover the game on the floor and blah, 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 but you don't get to take personal digs, which, like, to a certain extent, I do get, obviously. And, LeBron's whole thing is like, I'm doing this because, like, I'm protecting my family, and he's like, I'm protecting the other guys in the league. And that's what I wanted to stay on, because earlier this year, they asked LeBron about the face of the league stuff and players saying they don't want to be the face of the league. And LeBron basically said he understands why people shy away from it, because he's trying to say that, like, the coverage is so harsh on players now than it's ever been, which I gotta say is a bunch of bullshit. It's just not true. It's actually the opposite. The coverage and media accountability is as low as it's ever been. The access to players is as low as it's ever been. You get whatever the hell you get. And this idea that media guys are going out of their way to kill players and be way more negative than media coverage was in the 80s or the 90s or the early 2000s is BS. It's just not true. Nobody is actually facing more harsh criticism than Jordan did in the 90s when people were complaining about, his gambling and all this other stuff. Or Allen Iverson. I mean, forget about it. Allen Iverson's media coverage was insane. Like, they were calling this guy a thug and this, that, and like, it's just not true. The coverage was way harsher back in the days. I think what LeBron is talking about and what LeBron is lamenting in 2025 is that he seems to be obsessed with crafting the entire media narrative around him. And so what does that mean? That means, of course, he has to start the shop that he's the star of. He's going to do Mind Your Game. He's going to have Uninterrupted and other media entities where he gets to he's a media entity unto himself. And sure, go ahead. You get to control that narrative and even make it a counter narrative to what's coming out of outlets like ESPN or Fox or even us here at The Ringer. That's cool, but I think LeBron, you don't get to shape the entire media narrative. And to a certain extent, I don't think it's like LeBron is being nefarious or evil in his desire to want to craft the narrative around him and his businesses and his brand as a player, etc. In the McAfee thing, he talks about the decision and the sort of backlash that came out of that. And I think that's LeBron kind of telegraphing that that's like a ground zero sort of big bang moment for everything that comes out of LeBron's camp afterwards, is that they didn't realize what the backlash and the narrative would be coming out of the decision. They just thought they were doing something cool, a TV moment, or as LeBron said, me picking a new team like I was a college kid on picking between the teams that recruited me, right? I think he saw the backlash that came out of that, and him and his team decided they wanted to be more hands-on in controlling the narrative that sort of follows LeBron James. Understandable. And I think everything that he does now is with an eye towards that. It's we need to control everything. And look, I don't know that I would have carried it the way I do. I know I wouldn't have talked about LeBron the way Stephen A did, where he's just as a father, I think the Bronny thing is kind of whatever. I wouldn't have carried it like that, but I don't read that and think Stephen A stepped out of line, especially when I consider some of the things that people that are just as prominent in Stephen A and NBA media have said about LeBron. Y'all go do y'all Googles about the most prominent people in NBA media and the crazy axe grinding these people did against LeBron James from 2006 to 2000. It was insane. Nowhere near, I'm talking about the Stephen A thing would basically be you guys would say Stephen A was glazing LeBron compared to what some of these other people would do. And so this idea that the coverage is so much harsher and so much tougher is crazy. And I think it dovetails into something else, pet project of mine, is how freaking uninteresting NBA players are. And here's the thing too. You can go look at the stuff that LeBron produces. It's not that compelling. It's not that interesting. It's very sanitized. That's what I would say. LeBron has his right to produce starting five. It's a sanitized view of NBA players. It's not compelling. A lot of this player-driven stuff is hagiography and not interesting, not compelling. I don't see why anybody would feel more amped or geeked to consume NBA basketball after doing that. And I think another important part of the interview where McAfee talks about a conversation he had with Tyrese Halliburton, where every NBA player says, yo, LeBron is the guy we look to. And I think that's again another good instinct. Look at LeBron's career. Look at his accomplishments. Look at all this guy has done. He's been an incredible ambassador for the game. I understand why guys would look to LeBron as an example. But the problem is, I think guys look to post-decision LeBron and the anodyne, uninteresting nature of his brand and don't remember that LeBron was in the NBA for 8 years before that and was not this perfect, polished, Madison Avenue ready product. That he was more of a human being in public before the decision happened. And so what new guys are doing, they're jumping straight to post-decision LeBron and his media management and not taking into account the LeBron that existed before. And I think that's a detriment to the game and to the product of the NBA. Again, I'm somebody who's been watching LeBron, fan of LeBron, rooting for LeBron to do well for 23 freaking years now. And I can tell you there's a difference, And so, LeBron going on McAfee, and it's it's like LeBron's version of saying something interesting. Giannis would drop 250 in the 70s. Who was contesting that fact? Everybody thinks Giannis would kill people back in the but this is what LeBron does now. This is his version of being controversial. And then, the part, and this is the part where I think if I was wearing my non-media hat, I'd feel less pissed off about. It's him coming at Brian Windhorst of ESPN, who, full disclosure, yes, I have a good relationship with Windhorst. I consider him a buddy, a friend. And even besides that, one, I think Brian Windhorst is about, in terms of integrity in NBA media, he's at the top to me in terms of who has the most integrity in the way that they cover our league, bro. Windhorst is at the top, okay? I won't say he's peerless. I'm telling you, like, there's nobody with more credibility and integrity in terms of their NBA coverage, okay? And so for LeBron to come out and act like Wendy pretends to be his best friend and pretends to know him from whenever. Windhorst ain't never said that. Windhorst always is upfront and was like, yeah, my mom was, I think his mom was LeBron's 7th grade teacher or vice principal or something like that in Akron at the Catholic school, that his proximity with LeBron got him plenty of opportunities. Nobody's ever denied that, but go look at Windhorst's work. This idea that he doesn't talk to people around LeBron, that he doesn't have an insight into the way LeBron's team goes up, like their thinking on things, or like LeBron, like Windhorst is completely not tapped in, is crazy. And I think that's bullshit. I think that was Bush League, what he did there to Windhorst, to pretend that Wendy is somehow just, I don't know, misrepresenting the information that he gives to us, the NBA consuming public. I'll give you, just some free game, y'all. Go watch Windhorst's interview that he did with Rich Paul. Rich Paul, I think, was dropping a book or something. I forget what he was doing promo for. Him and Wendy had a great rapport. They sounded like old friends to me. So this idea that Windhorst doesn't talk to people that are near LeBron or like, is just talking out, it's just crazy. And lastly, what I'll say is, again, y'all, like, people gonna say I'm getting messy up here. I don't give a fuck. The bottom line is, y'all can go consume NBA media. Go do it. You won't have trouble finding people who will never say a bad thing about LeBron. You will not have trouble finding them scattered throughout the media. So that's the most hilarious part about it. It's like, as LeBron has populated the media with very LeBron-friendly media people, they exist out there, bruh. I promise y'all, if y'all want to look, you can find them. This notion that NBA players are just getting a terrible rap and that he need to go on McAfee. And I hate the little internet games too. It's like, oh, I'm going to go on your network, but I'm going to go on McAfee. Like, I hate the internet posery, honestly, of all of this. This idea that, like, the media is just so unfair to NBA players and people don't talk about the game and don't care about the game and they're knowledgeable about the game is crazy, bruh. It's crazy to me. And so, yeah, man, like, I've been my feelings about it. I don't know what to tell y'all. Okay, like, this one really struck a nerve. I think LeBron aimed to strike a nerve when he went off McAfee. And for me, again, as my two selves are sort of pulling me in different directions, like, I understand LeBron's sort of, you know, his need to control the narrative around it matters, and I understand why he would want to do that. And I understand that there have been people who I'm not gonna bother naming. Y'all could do the research, who have been crazy unfair to LeBron in the past, like cartoonishly unfair to this guy in the past. I have sympathy for that, and I thought that was ridiculous at the time, in real time, and it's even crazier looking back. But the idea that in 2025, NBA players are like they're just getting smoked in the media every single day, and that they're just straight up like people that don't know or care enough about the game covering the game. It's nonsense. It's lunacy. And I just had to say my piece about it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was our show for today. Make sure you subscribe to the Ringer NBA, Ringer Movies, Bill Simmons, Ringer TV, Ryan Russillo, like all of that good stuff that we got on the YouTube streets for you guys. Make sure you hit the notification bell. And yeah, man, give this thing a like, a thumbs up, man. It really helps us with the algorithm. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.